Welcome, transmission fans, to show number 10. This show is going to be an amazing show. I can't even talk. I'm so excited. We got amazing guests with us. As always, we have Sashko. Hello, Sashko.
How's it going, man?
Hey, man. And we got two special guests today. We have Zoltan and Rohit. Zoltan, welcome to the show, man.
Hey, thank you.
Yeah. And Rohit, thank you for coming on the show as well, man.
Absolutely. Awesome to be here.
Okay, so the people who don't know who you guys are, we definitely owe some awesome introductions because you guys are awesome. Zoltan, let's start with you, man.
So I was co-founder at Percolate Studio, which was a digital agency specializing in Meteor development. And since our acquisition by MDG, I've headed up the customer success department here, and more recently, I'm the product manager for Meteor.
Very cool.
Awesome. Thanks, Zol.
Sure.
I'm Rohit Bakhshi. I'm a product manager here at Meteor, focusing on Galaxy and all our cloud services. Joined about 4 or 5 months ago. It's been a fun ride so far. And before this, I was in open source Hadoop enterprise software at Hortonworks before that. So I've been working with enterprise software and open source for some time. So it's exciting to be here.
Excellent, excellent. Thank you guys for joining us. Everyone who's listening, we had these guys on because the 3 topics today is Galaxy hosting for all, RIP, rest in peace, a free hosting service, and census, a new package that Meteor is coming out with. So let's kick it off. Galaxy for all. Congratulations for achieving this huge milestone. You guys were in private beta and invitation only for a while. Yep. Now it's available to everyone.
Yep.
It's a great service. I was on the developer early release. I love it.
Awesome.
Yes, yes. And with that big thing, before we even dive into it, guys, special note. We have a promo code right now. If you guys go and want to get a free $50 credit to Galaxy, go ahead and say, I don't know, what should it be? Sashko is amazing. How about that?
Whoa.
Sashko is amazing.
I like it.
You down for that? Yeah? Okay, cool. That way then we know that they're real fans of the show, right? Sashko is amazing. I'll think of a funnier one next week. Anyway. So with that, guys, get $50 off going to Galaxy. Thank you very much, MDG, for sponsoring the show for this. Now back to Galaxy. Really quick, now that you guys got to Galaxy and you released it.
Yep.
And you guys released it under the One Galaxy for All.
Yep.
And there was changes with that and pricing.
Yep.
And that rolled out along with the public release with it.
Yes.
So I wanted to know a little bit more, kind of have you guys explain the price changes and the shift in mindset of offering all the features to everyone.
Sure. It's a good question, and it all kind of went into how we did and how we packaged the release. So, like you said, the last 6 months, we've been in early access for Galaxy Developer Edition, and we've had a bunch of what we call the pro accounts on, so team and business plans we've had for a while now. So we've learned a lot. We've got, more than 1,000 customers on Galaxy to that point. We've got a lot of apps running. And in all of our learnings, right, we got a lot of feedback around the people who were using Galaxy really liked it and wanted to get to use it for professional grade hosting of their Meteor application. Stable, scalable, easy to use, full featured usage, starting at the price point that they're going with. So as their business grows, as their application grows, they want Galaxy to grow with them. And then our pro customers also wanted the set of features, the stability, the load balancing, everything that we offer with Galaxy, and flexibility around how they grow their usage as well, and support plans. And so all of that came together, that feedback came together into our announcement of Galaxy for One. It's basically all the cool features that we've seen our pro customers use and enjoy. We want to give to everybody to enable them to run their critical applications in Galaxy and scale up as they scale their business and as they scale their application. So that's what went into the pricing. That's what went into the features being available to everybody, starting at a price point that they can start and roll out 1 or 2 containers, flexible container sizing. All of this went into that one announcement, one packaging release to enable everybody to get professional grade hosting through Galaxy.
That's so cool because I had a developer account or a developer edition.
Yep.
No pre-render.
Yep.
Locked in to like at the very beginning, we only had like the maximum of 5 containers.
That was the start when we rolled it out. Yes.
Yeah. And then we were able to have unlimited containers. But even then, I think we were able to scale up to 20, and then we had to email you guys.
Yep.
Like that. So, so this was huge. This was huge. I definitely enjoyed it a lot. Do you guys think like launching the public launch of Galaxy, but then also coming with all these changes where people reacted just on the fact of the changes alone? Do you think like that overshadowed the launch at all, or are you guys like getting some good numbers?
We're getting so 2 things there. One, we're getting really good response, and the launch of Galaxy and Galaxy for One was a change in how we looked at packaging and grouping the different features. So it was a reaction to feedback that we got, a good positive evolution of Galaxy, and that was all part of the launch. It wasn't like they're 2 separable things. That was the launch. We wanted to launch a product that, based on our feedback, we knew a large audience would like using, and starting at price points that they could start at and not have to go to a pro $500 plan to start off with. So that was really, all of that went into the launch announcement, and it was all part of the plan. In terms of the response, we've got a great response. There's been a ton of people who sign on to the new Galaxy for One plan and SKU. We've got people who were Galaxy Developer Edition users who are upgrading and using that because they want the expanded set of features. They want the ability to have multiple container sizes, pre-render like you mentioned. And so we're getting a really good response. We're really excited about the future of Galaxy and getting more and more people to experience it.
Yeah, and I think an important thing as well to mention here is, while there are changes in how the pricing works, right? It's no longer like different plans. It's just one thing. It's kind of a sliding scale. As far as I understand, the people who signed up for Galaxy before the initial launch, whatever contract they signed up for whether it was a year or whatever, they have the exact same pricing as they had before, right? So if you purchase the year of Galaxy Developer Edition, for however long you have left in that year, you're going to have exactly the same plan that you had back when you signed up.
Yeah.
Yep.
Customers that signed up during the early access period, like Sasha said, they have the plan that they have. We're not forcing anyone to upgrade, but this is just.
But a lot of people have upgraded because they wanted to.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, I want to upgrade. After the show, I should file a ticket to get upgraded.
Absolutely.
Very cool. Rock and roll. Now, and you guys said that because with the pricing changes, it costs more for developers now, or you have a different name for it. It's called the compact container.
Yeah, so we have different container sizes. We go from 512 megabyte 0.5 ECU up to 1 gig RAM, 1 ECU, and then 2 gig RAM, 2 ECU, 4. So we have compact, standard, double, and quad, and we see a lot of our applications that are running in production, customers that are running in production, going with the standard size as kind of a good starting point for production apps and running about a few containers to get advantage of high availability, as well as the right sizing for a Meteor application to scale to multiple connected clients. And so the pricing starts at $0.035 an hour for a compact container. And that includes access to all the features, no matter what container size you're using. And so that was the right simplified packaging model, like Saskia was talking about, that we landed on that is resonating based on a lot of the signups that we're getting.
Awesome. That's exciting.
Yeah.
So there was a few other features that I just noticed when researching for this call.
Yep.
And I knew it was on the roadmap. I didn't realize they were launched yet, like the wild card.
Yep.
Right. And so that's huge.
Yep.
We already touched on pre-renders available now to everyone.
Yep.
Which is huge. And then also an extended thing for Developer Edition, or now for the compact, is we have longer performance performance history, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, that was another big thing. Like, I love the interface that you guys had, and then the Developer Edition, I was like, what am I going to do with this performance matrix? It's like extremely short.
Yep. No, that was the feedback too, and I think that's kind of what went into this new packaging plan that we announced last week, right? And it's covering the whole gamut of what you need to be successful with DevOps when it comes to a Meteor application, right? So the deployment, the ease of deployment, using Meteor deploy to just deploy to Galaxy and get you up and running with a host name. And then monitoring, right? You're talking about metrics. You're talking about looking at the individual container metrics, overall application metrics. You can now get up to a whole month of a history to see where you're having performance issues, to see how the more connected clients come onto your app, how it's affecting your CPU usage, your RAM usage, logs to debug issues, application logs showing that up to a day or more. I think go up to 7 days in history. And so all of that's now available no matter what point you start with in your application. Small container, compact, standard, 1, 2, doesn't matter. You get those features. And then a lot of what's going into how we're approaching this is that we're trying to make the whole management of a Meteor app simpler. So one of the things that we did was pre-render SEO. You don't have to go set that up yourself. You can just get that out of the box. Wildcard domains, so you can have everything coming to star.domain.com, get routed to your application, and you handle the logic inside your application, how you deal with different subdomains. All that's available as services, and that's a big part of how we're looking at Galaxy, is that it's simplified services for running and managing and monitoring a Meteor application. That's just going to increase. We have more stuff on the roadmap to kind of make that easier for a developer and DevOps around.
Very cool. Can you share with us like what's coming up on the roadmap?
Sure. So one of the things that we're actually talking in the forums, and there's a great thread about the different regions that people want to run their application in, right? So Amazon has this concept of regions, which is basically where they have their data centers. And there's different requirements around why that's important to people. There are security and compliance reasons of why people want to run in Europe, for example. There's data compliance reasons. So they'll have their database in the European region of Amazon, and so they want to have their app in the European region in Amazon as well, and that makes complete sense. There's people who have most of their users in Asia, and so they want to have their app hosted in the Asian data center so that it's the lowest latency for the users interacting with their Meteor application. So all that's driving us to invest and do multi-region support so that you can have your app in different regions of Amazon and AWS.
Very cool.
So that's one big thing that we're working on. And then it's continued kind of ease of deployment and ease of management. So Let's Encrypt is a really, really cool service that's come out.
Yes.
Right? You've probably heard of it. A lot of people on this pod who listen to podcasts have probably heard about it too. It's basically SSL management, creating a certificate, uploading, figuring out what a key file is, a CRT file. It's really complicated. And so Let's Encrypt just does all of that for you and generates a secure certificate and enables us. And then we can use that as a service to basically automatically enable SSL for any application running on Galaxy. And that's something that we're working hard to roll out soon so that a person who uploads an application to Galaxy and deploys does not have to worry about making sure that they can serve HTTPS traffic. It's
amazing.
It's cool how everything comes together. Let's Encrypt, the whole ecosystem's coming together to make this easier, right? And we can then plug in and enable that for people. So
exactly,
cool things there, and that we're excited about when it comes to Galaxy.
Cool. So we got multi-region support.
Yep.
On AWS. We have Let's Encrypt integration. So like SSL, HTTPS is going to just be working right off the bat.
Yep.
That's very cool.
Yeah, I think it's awesome because like on the one hand, Let's Encrypt makes stuff really easy. On the other hand, like there's certain things like you have to refresh your certificate every once in a while. There's stuff like that. And so you go online and you see these tutorials that are like, Let's Encrypt is so easy. Just run these like 25 commands, And it's like having the service that just wires it up where you just click one button and like you're secure now. That's amazing.
Yeah, this fits perfectly into MDG's vision of software development. So that's super exciting. Very cool. Very cool. Awesome. What is there a third one? I love things in threes.
So I think the third will be, there'll be a bunch of stuff we do around making it easier to deploy and integrate. So you'll see with Meteor 1.3, we're making CLI updates to make it easier to choose accounts that you're deploying to and make the whole process of figuring out where to deploy an app, if you have multiple accounts in Galaxy, easier to do, and more feedback around the CLI. So enhancements around ease of deployment, ease of management, managing multiple domains, managing multiple certificates for your application, all of that will become easier through enhancements we make in Galaxy. And that's a big grouping of functionality that you'll see come over time.
Very cool. Very cool. I am super excited for Galaxy. Everyone who's listening, seriously go check it out. Meteor.com/galaxy. Check out the pricing, sign up, give it a trial. That's one thing that we're going to get into next right now. So along with Galaxy and all the amazing thing that's coming out, free hosting is going away. Yes. Sad face. Emoji cry. So it sounded like, let me line this up correctly here. It's definitely being discontinued. That's what we know for sure. Some people asked or were wondering if this is going to be kind of like potentially how the announcement of Blaze went, and where like, oh, we're going to discontinue Blaze or deprecate it, and then we're going to bring it back. But in this case, I think it's safe to say that free hosting, for right now at least, is like going to be cut for sure. Is that correct?
Yes, it is. The free hosting you get a Meteor.com free tier that is going away. Yes.
Okay. And the big thing for that was it was taking up a tremendous amount of resources. Can you give us some insight of like what that looked like? I think Matt said it was $10,000 a week in hosting.
Yeah. So let me give you some color as to what went in behind it, right? So we had this free tier of hosting. We had got up to recently over 50,000 applications, 50,000 database instances that were running on that tier. Over time, right? It's kind of testament to how people have been using and deploying and kind of evaluating Meteor. And so that whole infrastructure, just the infrastructure costs itself were $10,000 a week. And more of that. It was just increasing over time, right? There's infrastructure costs. There's also maintenance. It's a service, right? And I think people saw a month and a half, 2 months ago, or even 3 months ago, there were troubles. The Mongo databases were going down. The apps weren't responding. So there's infrastructure costs, but there's also a lot of just running a service cost and then maintenance and people time that goes into it as well. So all that combined was becoming unsustainable. And that's a lot of what drove kind of the discontinuation of the tier and also the timeline, honestly, around how we have to get kind of ramp it down. And we gave transition options to other tiers depending on the price point, to Galaxy with credits so they can evaluate and see if that's the right fit for them. Yeah. But that's what drove a lot of it. Just full transparency. And Matt's post really talks about that.
Can you guys give us like an insight of like how, like what the size of the resources that it took locally, like manpower resources? Like we know a dollar amount for like the cost of AWS, but like it was really impeding some of the features that you wanted to be working on with Galaxy. Right?
Yeah. I mean, like things like multi-regions, spinning up multiple services in different countries. A lot of the enhancements around stability and reliability of our hosting of Galaxy, and just in general, all the stuff that we're doing around Meteor 1.3. There's a lot of work that we're excited about that we're doing as kind of getting feedback from the community, getting feedback from our users that it was impacted by the maintenance and the costs of maintaining that tier.
Yeah, I think an important fact as well which I think people don't put a point on as much as I had hoped. Well, yeah, because some people asked us, they were like, why don't you just frame this as a transition from free hosting to Galaxy? And I think that's exactly what we didn't want to do. It's very much not like, hey guys, we have a paid hosting service. Why don't you all just pay us money now instead of using it for free? Because they're completely different services, right? This is definitely, we have a service that we've been running for a couple of years that we can't maintain anymore. We have a totally different service that happens to do the same thing, but is a completely different infrastructure, shares zero code in common, right? And so it's like, how can a company of our size maintain two totally separate hosting services, right? Like it's even maintaining one is hard enough,
Yeah, and to answer your question, Ben, in terms of like raw man hours, it's not like we have, 1, 2, or 3, or however many people, just 100% dedicated to maintaining the old free tier. But it's engineers getting sucked in, during the day. It's like for 2 hours here, and then someone else needs to get involved because they understand that part of a very old code base better, and so it ends up being a pretty big distraction, terms of the roadmap on Galaxy and other things as well.
Yep.
And it's also difficult because we see and feel the pain that the community is having on the other side, when the free hosting tier is not working so well, and that affects internal morale, and it's code that like has no future either, because Galaxy is as Sashko just mentioned, like completely different code base. So
it's trade-offs, and to make some trade-offs there.
Yeah.
Did you guys expect more or less criticism on the announcement that the free hosting was going away?
I mean, it's a tough trade-off that we had to make, right? So it's not.
Did you guys hear the question?
It's not going to be a good announcement. It's not going to be a good. People aren't going to be happy about it. It's just something that we wanted to give very clear transitions, guidances about where people could go, what other hosting options were available, and so our goal was to be as transparent about that. But it's a tough announcement to make. It's a tough trade-off that we have to make. In a world of infinite resources, we would do it all, but that's not the world that we live in, and so. Yeah.
I thought it was right in the middle of the road. There was responses of people are like, "How could you do this?" And there's other responses that kind of fell in line of how I was thinking, which is, MDG already does a lot. All the software you guys create is open source, and that's pretty much a huge endeavor that you guys are giving the community for free. This extra expense of hosting is just like too much, like offering too much. So it just makes sense to like push everything else forward.
Yeah, I think it's kind of funny. Like, it's one of those things where you don't realize the cost of a lot of what you're doing, where you're like, oh, like writing a hosting service, like how hard is that? And then you write it and you're like, oh, like writing a build farm so that people can publish packages for Windows, like how hard is that? And writing a package server, oh, like we can do that, right? But then at the end of the day, like you've written all these things, and it's hard to predict where all the costs will be of maintaining them, not just the cost of financially, but also just like of focus and people.
Yep.
Like the way I always, like if I were to write a blog post today about, like Meteor in 2016, it would be like about really focusing on the things that matter. And obviously different things matter to different people. But I think like if we focus on a smaller number of things and knock those out of the park, I think that will actually be really helpful, because, it'll just improve the quality overall of all the things we provide.
That's right. Like, guys, it comes down to this. Like, we want MDG to be as effective as possible with the things that are the most valuable that they could be contributing to. And I would have to agree, like, free hosting is a really great add-on, but it shouldn't get a very high priority on MDG's list, because there's so many other amazing things that you guys are working on.
Yep.
So, yeah. Good call. It was tough.
Yeah, and I think another thing that Matt alluded to in his forum post, Matt has this really great forum post responding to all of people's concerns and stuff. And one thing he alluded to is, some programs that we want to do based on people's feedback to ease the transition, right? I don't know if you have some thoughts about that.
Yep, we can talk about that. And I think one of the things, right, you talked about feedback and reception to the post. We got a lot of good kind of feedback on what was important to the community and what we could do. And so I thought that was a really good part of it. And that's a good conversation to have. And there's a spin-off thread about community packages that people put together, that people relied upon when it came to Meteor, right? And what kind of solution did we put in place for that? That was a great thread. And we got a bunch of, I think up to 30 packages that were kind of lined out and outlined for us. And what we're doing is we're now putting together this program where we'll offer, and we have an onboarding for package demos that are very valuable to the Meteor community, that will be hosted on Galaxy, and we'll have this Galaxy plan. They can keep using that for hosting those package demos. And then if there are other packages that come up, we'll have a way to process and get requests for access to Galaxy for those packages, and we can evaluate them on a package by package basis. And so that was a great outcome and a great feedback from the conversation with the community around that. Another thing that came out of that thread was around enabling Meteor workshops or Meteor training sessions that happen that help people learn about Meteor, grow the Meteor community. Again, a great thing that people in the community will donate their time and do out of their willingness to kind of help people learn. Meteor. And so we're putting together this Galaxy community sandbox program where people who are in a workshop will get 7 days of access to a Galaxy account, an org account, so that you can have everybody in that workshop be able to deploy and see their application running in real time on Galaxy while during the duration of that workshop. So
Oh my gosh, that's huge.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I kind of just forced Rohit to announce these things. So you're welcome, everyone. But look for a more detailed announcement of exactly how it's gonna work, like not on a podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's excellent, because that was probably the biggest concrete feedback that I heard on that forum post was,
Agreed.
well, what about these people that are building packages or hosting meetups, or just they don't want to lose the magic of demoing Meteor to people who are unfamiliar with Meteor.
Yep.
And this was a big part of it, just because of how amazing deployment is.
Yep.
So I'm super happy that you guys are addressing that. And it sounds like an amazing product that you guys are going to be offering. So I appreciate that.
No, we're excited, and it's a sign of that's a good discussion and a good feedback loop that we can have with the community, and so that was good.
A lot of you guys were saying, okay, there's like alternatives to hosting these example apps through packages somewhere else, and I was wondering to myself, well, what are the alternatives where someone can like host free Meteor app? And I couldn't think of any. Is there something that like I'm missing, or?
Sure. So we did some research on this, and it depends on what for free. There is a Heroku sandbox that you can deploy, and there's Heroku build packs that enable you to run Meteor apps. So, you can deploy your app there, and then when it comes to the Mongo database, MongoLab, now called MLab, has a free sandbox that you can deploy and run and host and connect to your Meteor application. So there are options, right? And we have a guide article that we put out along with that forum post to help people understand how to take data out of the Meteor free tier and deploy their app to Heroku and migrate to MLab's free sandbox.
Okay.
And then for package sites, I think what I've seen also work is for documentation sites. There's GitHub pages, there's different things. So depending on what you need to enable your package, there's different options. So there's free hosting for applications, and then there's other ways to do shared documentation and screenshots and guides on how to use the package.
Very cool. Very cool. And then for those of you who are listening and aren't familiar with Heroku, their free tier gives you, I think, 12 hours of service a day, and then they turn it off for the other 12. And
18 and 6, but similar. Yeah, it's a
okay.
Yeah.
And then the build pack that you guys want to be looking for is called like the horse build pack, I think.
I think so. Yes.
Because it makes total sense.
Yeah, I think you said there's an article from the blog post linking to that.
Yeah. There.
Oh, excellent. Very cool. Matt was saying in his response that you guys were talking about earlier, he said that communication there's like a miscommunication inside MDD on exactly where free hosting was going. I think he was mentioning that because to some people he was saying that free hosting is going to be sticking around forever, and then other people were kind of already gearing up to know that free hosting was going away. Was that the disconnect that he was talking about?
Well, the way I would look at it is that there are a few things around this announcement, right? There's the package demos, there's enabling people who are enabling the Meteor community and our programs around that, the rationale behind our decision and kind of the open discussion around the trade-offs that we had to make as a company. All of that could have been bundled together in a better way, and we've learned from that, from this forum post and from the communication. So I think it's everything we're talking about. We're kind of having this great discussion here on this podcast. Just how do we do this better next time, right? And how do we not go through this angst with our community?
Yes, I enjoy these like little pops up, little like forest fires that we got to put out, because that's why this podcast exists. But I do agree, like it's happening more often than it shouldn't, because when we do get on the podcast and we hear it communicated effectively, you guys explain yourself, there's like there's like no issue after the podcast. Like there's no like blow up forum posts that happen after our podcast and all stuff. So it's like purely a communication thing.
I think it's also it's hard to get it in this kind of conversation and feedback in a written post, right? It's so much easier in a in-person discussion, talking face to face, having different opinions being shared.
Yes.
So these are challenging. These are very challenging. It's a challenging trade-off to make. It affects a lot of people. So it's not something that we did with just. It's a tough thing to do, right? And so it's good that we had these opportunities to talk about it face to face. And I think this is an effective way of getting deeper into why we're doing things and how it's happening.
Yeah, just to kind of.
So with that, I was going to make a bold prediction that we should make all product announcements on this show from now on. Yeah, that's what we should do, right?
We'll take that into consideration then.
yeah, I'm down. No, but I think like in terms of just to directly answer your question, like what kind of miscommunication Matt was talking about, I think it was kind of about how, at the same time, this decommissioning of the free hosting, it's a concern that spans a lot of different dimensions, right? It spans the community, it spans the people who are working on the open source projects in Meteor, it spans like the Galaxy team, the services team, and everyone involved. And so I think, initially we looked at it more of as a business-related announcement, and I think we didn't consider fully all the different ways that it could impact the Meteor open source community as a whole. And so I think when Matt's talking about communication, he means like, predicting some of these concerns that people had, which are like very valid, and just making sure that our initial announcement addresses them ahead of time, rather than having them come up and then having to have this show and like explain yourselves better.
Yeah.
I'm curious. Is it just like an increased communication that's needed with enough time for a conversation to happen around it before an action is taken? Or are you guys are a scrappy startup and you make decisions fast and make changes fast. And sometimes it happens so fast, the momentum keeps on going that sometimes like the community gets left behind, right? And the conversation happens after something gets announced then rather than before.
I think it's a balance that I think everyone's always trying to strive for, and the intent is not to have the community left behind at all, right? The community is an extremely important part of what we're building and what makes it successful. And so it's a balance that we have to strike. And there's some decisions that are, like there's some things that are just from a financial perspective and how much they're costing us and what we have to move quicker than we would like to, right? Sometimes. And so that makes these communications a bit harder. So I think it's the combination of those factors and the balance that we have to strike. But it's hard to say what the right answer is, right? We're learning. We're all learning.
The Blaze conversation. What if Jeff's post was, "Hey guys, we're thinking about deprecating Blaze. What do you think about it?" That would have been a much different thing. That's like, "Hey, we're deprecating Blaze," Or
I think it's interesting because sometimes there isn't another answer. Like, I think that post could be, "Hey, we're thinking of deprecating Blaze. What's the best way? What's the best way to handle that? What's the best way to keep it, keep it around," or something like that. I think in this case, there was simply not another option, and I think it was just about there was a decision that we had to make that was very difficult, and we had to figure out the right way to address all the concerns.
Yep.
Like, "Hey guys, we're coming to the point where we need to close down free hosting, and here's the reason why. We're not sure on the details on when it's going to end or whatnot, but we're opening up the conversation for us now, and then later come out like, okay, we decided with 2 weeks also." Anyway, that's just my mind. That's what I'm thinking. I'm trying to have less fires go on.
Yeah, I think we can for sure do a better job communicating. I don't think anyone would disagree with that.
Yeah, but I think on the other hand, having a smaller amount of communication can also end up with a lot of uncertainty, right? Sometimes what happens is you make an offhand comment, then somebody picks that up and they write a blog post about it, and they're like, "Oh, Meteor is doing this and this, and then they write some stuff that's maybe not actually accurate to what we were planning to do at all. And then people pick that up and they're like, oh my God, Meteor is doing this. And then, now like we still have a fire to put out. So in some sense, like you have to make sure that you get it right the first time. And that's like basically impossible, because as soon as it gets out there and people start writing all of their opinions about it and stuff, it's really hard to,
Possibly.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Basically, I'm saying like,
I don't know.
basically, I'm saying that everything that happens, there's at least two people that sit down, or like the idea gets hatched by one person or two people. Then they go to someone else at MDG, and you guys sit and talk to one another. So like free hosting's going away. Oh, I'm gonna go talk to Sashko. I'm gonna go talk to Zoltan and like tell them. And then your guys' first question is like, oh, really? Why? That's the conversation that you guys have internally. That I'm saying like, probably should happen on the forums too, to some extent, before then some decisions were made. Anyway, that's just my 2 cents and all that stuff. Maybe if you guys do start doing that, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to open up a fake trolling account on forums.meteor.com so that I could like keep some momentum going. So we got the show, because so,
you know what we really like internally is those posts that people make of like a simulation of what happened inside MDG. Yeah. People are like, all right, Jeff walks into the room. He's like, all right, guys, like today our job is to piss off the community as much as possible. Like, okay, yeah, how can we do that?
Dude, that's Max Savin that did that. And that one post is what this show was born out of. That's what was mentioned, this show.
Yeah, was it actually this thread where that thread was thread?
That was that thread.
Yeah, that thread was where this show started.
It's awesome.
And Sashko, you're like, yeah, we need to do a better job. I'm willing to do something if someone wanted to do it. And boom. That's all you had to say, man.
Amazing.
Okay. Last question for this section. Will free hosting ever come back? Matt kind of hinted at it.
Yep. I mean, it's tougher, right? We're always going to evaluate what makes sense. We have partners. We have partners for the Mongo database hosting that we're very happy to work with on kind of, look at making that easier integration. That's something we'll definitely look into and explore when it comes to Meteor deploy. And then we'll look at ways of offering more scalable, and if it's, financially makes sense, technically makes sense, we'll keep evaluating it.
Awesome.
With partners or with our own offering.
That's awesome. And so guys, everyone who's listening, like that's the motivation, that's the underlying tone that's happening at MDG. And so that's a huge thing to take away from that. Like, yeah, you guys still want to like showcase Meteor and make it easier for us to showcase it and all its amazingness. So very cool. All right. Third topic for this show, we're going to be talking about a new package that is being developed right now, and it's called Census. Yeah, there's an open PR right now that caught the attention of some of the community members. They opened up a forum post about it, and it was interesting. When Sashko brought this up as a topic for the show, I literally like messaged back. I'm like Census. What the heck is this? Like, send me a link of where it's at. I missed this forum post. I don't know how I did.
It's all my fault, Zol. Yeah.
It is an amazing like conversation that was had, and I'm glad that we're able to talk about it. I think transmission is a perfect medium to like really get into weeds on this and understand it fully, because Census I think it's misunderstood. I'm kind of confused on the thinking behind it. Zoltan, could you explain like what Census does and a little bit like
absolutely. I think that's a great place to start, actually. So going back a little while, we went through this exercise internally where, and actually since then we've done it from time to time, where we use a service called builtwith.com. And that sort of is a web crawler that uses heuristics to figure out like what technologies power websites. So we use this service to try and find like what sites out there were running Meteor. And when you think about it, that's like it's pretty amazing that we built this technology that's like spread throughout the world, and many like businesses and products are based on it. And we were sitting in the room, we realized, well, we actually have no idea like what these apps are, who are writing them, beyond like the vocal people in the forums and beyond customers that buy our products who we start to build a relationship with. There's this sort of dark net of everyone else. Like it turns out many tens of thousands of apps that are out there, and we have like no idea like what they are.
The dark net.
Yeah. And so we were like, man, it sure would be great to know, sort of, who's using the product, like what these apps are. Maybe, we can learn about like things on our roadmap that we can improve. We can learn about, like performance issues. Are there huge apps out there? Like what, that's why one of the, I'll get into this more later, but one of the data points that the census is thinking of collecting is, max sessions for the day. Sort of understand like, and map out, the application ecosystem. So that is the main motivation for building this package. And that's the census package. And what it does is it simply pings back some data about your app once a day, about your running app. And there are various sort of bits of data that it sends that we've done probably a poor job of explaining, which seems to be a theme at the moment. But really the main data that's sort of interesting to us and probably to other people as well is the root URL of your Meteor app and the max number of sessions. And then there are various other sort of little bits of sort of infrastructure data that like enable us to tie it all together, but they're the main ones. And so we, as we like to do being engineers and as you said, a scrappy startup, we just built the code. And the other reason for that is we're in this like release rush to get 1.3 out. Everyone's eager to see it. So we're just building. And that's what we did there as well. Opened a PR, which is how we work internally, and didn't really think to engage the community first, which now in retrospect was a big mistake. We should have done that. So the PR started the conversation. And I've probably left out a whole lot of detail, but I feel like
we'll dive into it, man. Yeah.
So talked for a while. So yeah, that's
so a few things about like back to like the basics of what census is. Originally, and we'll see if this is still the case. It was going to be installed with all Meteor Create deployments right off the bat, kind of like how Insecure and Auto Publish is, and a number of other packages.
Yep.
Okay. And there was no configuration, or at least there was no plan for any configuration. It was just going to do that.
Yep.
Okay.
And to be clear, it was not going to be installed. It was not ever going to be installed behind developers' backs. So we were going to print out a nice big message about what it does, how you can disable it with one command by removing the package. And where to find out, where to find the source code, where to find out more information about what it does. And the source code as well is written to be as transparent as possible. It fits on like 2 screens. That was sort of the original design that we built. Okay.
So you guys just, one thing that you said was it seemed like you guys would like to have this information. And since you guys have the ability to implement something to have that information available to you, then you're like, hey, why not? Let's do it. Is it simply that it's like a nice to have a set of data, or is it like kind of something that you guys really, really need to kind of plan out the future?
It's definitely a nice to have. It's hard to say that we really, the company is going to like succeed or fail based on whether we have this data. So I'm not sure how.
I guess what I'm alluding to is like if you had like maybe 10% or even like a good number, like 20% of the information of the 20% of the apps that are out there.
Yeah.
Would that be good enough rather than trying to grab the lion's share of the Meteor apps out there and grabbing information from it?
Yeah, so actually, so 20% is roughly what we're able to find using built with, and it's it's a little frustrating not knowing what the other 80% is, that the 80% of apps that are out there, because maybe there's some really interesting stuff that we're missing out on, and I guess that's sort of our motivation too for designing this in a way that only the people that like really don't want to send this information are the ones that opt out, not the people that are like on the fence or don't really care. So we do end up collecting more data because that's the interesting part. I mean,
Yeah, and a lot of products and frameworks out there do this, right? They have phone home and they have capabilities of sending data, and you can get rid of it, like the Meteor remove census package.
Yeah.
It's a way to help improve the framework. It's a way to help improve the product. So there are a lot of other products, and out there also a lot of this.
Yeah.
I definitely see the benefit of it. But how it got rolled out or initially proposed is it's like you're going to get the lion's share of apps out there sending information to you. And it's like that's I think where the debate is. Because ultimately we want to send the information to you guys. Like, you guys aren't going to like go out and like do horrible things to us or whatever in the background. Like, you're going to make Meteor better, right? And who doesn't want that? So that's totally makes sense. And at ReactConf, it was really neat to they had that one slide showing the React installs, but really they gleaned that number from the React debugger Chrome plugin. So it's like they were like digging into someone's app, production app on it. Yeah. And it's always nice. Like, Apple always shows their upgrade stats when like new version of OS comes out or whatnot. Yep. And so like we could see like where that could be a benefit to like show off marketing wise for media.
I think the biggest thing that I found working on Meteor, the open source project, is having it be really hard to figure out who the actual developers are, right? Because you're sitting there and you're like, okay, I'm going to implement this feature. Like, who's going to use it and for what? And again, one option is always to put it on GitHub, to put it on the forums, to tweet about it, whatever. But I'm pretty sure that like some people have commented in that thread, that there's like an overwhelming silent majority of people that are using Meteor that they just don't care about open source. They don't care about forum threads. They don't care about GitHub. They're like, I got to build my app. I'm going to use this tool out there and getting feedback from those people is just super duper hard,
Yeah.
Probably because they don't want to be known. They're doing some secret stuff, man.
I don't know if that's the case.
How many .xxx websites are running on Meteor? We're going to know soon, right?
Those people probably,
anyway,
we want to know.
They might have some serious scaling challenges.
Exactly. And they might need framework features as well that we're not providing,
Okay, so the overarching the overarching feeling of this is like, okay, you guys have the ability to implement this, so you guys have the power, but just to like take action on that power and roll it out.
Well, to be clear, it's not like
kind of feels like an abuse of that.
We don't have power to secretly release features, right? Like the whole reason this conversation is happening because the only way to get something into Meteor is to submit a pull request and have people look at it.
Exactly. So that's why I framed it where it feels like this. I'm not saying that you guys are like this evil organization, right? Because it's not like you guys can't pull the wool over someone's eyes, and you guys never would anyway. But it felt like that. Like it's like, oh, like we're gonna take this information, kind of, we're just gonna like throw it in there or whatnot. And I really like Zoltan. I really like your responses on the forum post, because you're taking the responses in. And you're reacting to them and finally understanding like, oh, well, I can see where like people like don't like this.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. And like, I don't know, reading your responses, it felt like you came to that, you kind of started understanding that conclusion, like, oh, I could see how this was taken the wrong way. Okay.
Yeah, and on that point as well, I mean, we were hoping to push this out in 1.3, and based on the feedback that forum post generated, we've decided to hold off for a while and just sort of, really get it right, and involve the community a bit more before we go ahead and do it.
Yeah. And have you guys like researched, it was interesting, oh gosh, who was it that posted it about how it would like violate EU privacy laws?
Yeah, and we actually don't think that that's necessarily correct, but the EU sort of just legal system in general and around privacy is so vast that it's hard to say for sure without consulting, and going on a legal investigation most likely. But initially, it doesn't look like it's valid because the privacy laws are about personal privacy and collecting personal data, which the census package doesn't do. It collects application metrics, and being opt out as well makes it unclear whether it even would.
Okay.
But it's an interesting point, and I think what I've certainly seen from Europe is that people, there are these like strong privacy laws, and so and of course no one, except for a very select few people, and even there's debate about the interpretation of those laws. So the way that they're sort of understood by regular people is just, oh my God, data, we can't send data anywhere, especially outside the EU. And
right,
and there's sort of a level of kind of
there's some conditioning there.
Conditioning and yeah.
Yeah, so that's interesting. Like all of a sudden, it's like, okay, there could be some regulations that we need to be aware of with this, at least to look into, because there's a possibility. So yeah, very cool. The next question, I'm pretty excited, or I really want to dive into this. Not so much that I'm excited, but I came from the enterprise world. In fact, that's how I got introduced to Meteor. It fit the requirements for a line of business apps that I was building that crossed both desktop, web, and mobile. And Meteor ended up being a great product. And I decided to then leave the enterprise, become a full-time Meteor developer. Like it's a huge like Cinderella story. I love Meteor. But if this happened, even in like, I had to sell it. I had to sell it to the CTO. I had to sell it to executives. It was unbelievable how much open source is not understood, even in the IT department of enterprise. And this was a large international company with hundreds of offices, thousands of employees, and still open source was not to be trusted. At least that was the undertone. So if I was showing the CTO this, and someone brought this up in the forums too, and I was like, oh, this is awesome, because there was no reason for me to make a response. If I was showing the CTO this and Meteor create and like that message popped up, that would just like reconfirm the fears that the CTO has of like, for some reason that we can't trust open source, which is like totally unfounded and ridiculous. But with you guys targeting the professional enterprise developers now, like I see this as a potential big issue, that like earning the trust of the enterprise. You guys wouldn't want to like deter that in any way. Do you see this as a potential issue as well going into that enterprise?
I think that's actually, that question is more tainted by people's sort of concerns around personal privacy. And the reason I say that is because how many times have we clicked, yes or no to a dialogue on our Mac, on software that we use that says, hey, on our Android phones, like, hey, we'd love to, send this data, like, do you want to opt in or out? Like, we do it all the time. And if there was such a sensitivity to that within the enterprise, well, guess what? They wouldn't have any computers to use. There would be no software or like hardware in an enterprise in setting if if that's the way that enterprise is thought.
Yes.
So I actually don't believe that the census package would inhibit growth within the enterprise.
And it's opt out as well, right? So
that's right.
It's very much.
Well, that's what it leads into. Like how are we going to implement this now? Is it going to be a yes or no on Meteor Create? Is it going to be an opt-in rather than I have to opt out?
Well, that is the $1 million question, right? Because at some point it becomes there's just no point in releasing this package at all. If it's a very strong opt-in, like there's some pros on the corner of our website somewhere that says, hey, you can install this census package. Go and do it. It would really help us. Like that's the extreme version of the slider where like no one would ever install the package because they wouldn't even know about it. And then you start getting more towards the middle ground where like Meteor Create, gives you some text that says, hey, like please go and install this package. Like it would be great for us and ultimately you. And again, I think like very few people would then like bother to go do something out of their way. And so if we end up settling on, on a solution like that, like through community consensus, then we have to ask ourselves, like, is there any point in doing this in the first place?
Exactly.
And so that's, I guess, what we're trying to figure out through the discussion.
Like this is like super interesting to me because like it alludes back to my first question where it was like, oh, it felt like a person in power was kind of like forcing something upon us that didn't really give us ultimate value back. So it was just something that we had to take, right? Yep. And just like deal with it. Whereas like the information that you want to grab, you guys can get that information going a different route pretty much where it is a mutual win-win. And I'm saying like partnering with Kadira, like the information that you guys want, Kadira has, right? Or offering, like you guys have a great dashboard that I'm sure is like components and all that stuff or whatnot. Can you guys like break out a way where in your developer account, you got like really, really light, easy, and nothing's easy. So I'm playing the client now. I get to be the client.
Client.
Yes. Wouldn't it be great to like offer like just like a really light of performance matrix, right? And it's like, hey, like get this package in, you get this stuff for free, and you get to like monitor your app a little bit on your developer account UI, and then we get the data that we want. And like that's a win-win rather than just like one person went in and the community feels like we're just like given, right? Like why?
Like, it's interesting that would be a different situation, right? Because like you could still ask the question, why don't we just have this dashboard and not send the data, right? So it's like, either way, it's like you're getting something very valuable for free, right? Whether it's Meteor or whether it's a dashboard. But for some reason, having it be like a service means that it's suddenly okay to collect as much data as you want, right? Like if Kadira is collecting metrics on who's using Kadira, that's totally chill with everyone. But as soon as it's not a service, then it's no longer okay, and that's kind of interesting, right?
Well, it just doesn't provide any value to the person. Like Zoltan, you said if we made it a separate package and we said, hey guys, please install this, no one would install it. And the question is, why would no one install it?
Right.
Because there's no value.
There's no immediate value, Ben. Immediate value, but it's as with climate change, it's very hard for us as individuals to see beyond what's right in front of us.
I am playing the devil's advocate.
Absolutely.
Like,
Yeah, I guess it's kind of like a vaccine or something, right?
Yeah.
It's where you're like, oh, like there's some nebulous good to like the world as a whole, like maybe less people get sick or something.
Yeah.
And here it's kind of like, yeah, you add this and it like improves Meteor over time in general, but there's no immediate thing. Yeah.
That's the thing. Like, do we just go out and like implement this and just like eventually hope that people get conditioned where they're okay with it as is? Or do we go the other route and make it optional? And then we really don't, then you guys don't see the value in it because you guys don't get a bigger adoption. That's the ultimate thing. Like in that situation, both those scenarios, there's huge losses in either way, and that's what I mean, like win-win. I guess it's like back and forth, but all that. Thank you for let me go on the rant to talk about like how I think it should happen. I still think,
absolutely.
I still think, see, like React got their numbers because they offered a Chrome developer tool that was a value added thing. And then they get information back for that, you know? And so it's just basically, that's the inspiration of the model that I'm proposing.
Yeah.
We'll figure out.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I guess Google Analytics does like a similar thing, right? Or whatever.
Yes.
Google Webmaster Tools in particular.
Yes.
They're like, let us run a performance test on your website, and we know about your website now.
where are you standing on this now, Zoltan? Like after the forum post, us talking, what are some, how do you see this rolling out as of right now? I'm not saying like this is going to be the final one because obviously the conversation is still going on. But where are you at right now with it?
Yeah, I'm sort of trying to keep pressing the community to rally around more consensus, because the one thing I haven't really seen too much of yet is like the stamp of approval on a design that everyone's okay with. And actually, in reading through the forum thread, like I don't actually find that much negativity or positivity in one direction or the other. It's more of a conversation between people that like understand and people that are like worried about it. But there's no like one like, oh, if you just did this, like, you know, everyone would be happy. Apart from, you know, the naysayers accepting the solution where you just have to add the package, because that's an easy like, you know, an easy way. Right. So I'd love to see more conversation, but especially like in light of, you know, around sort of finding some sort of consensus that that works, because that's, you know, as I said earlier, like we delayed the release of this thing to try and collect like more feedback to that goal.
Are you thinking about having like configuration settings for this package available to developers?
Yeah, and that's something that came out of the thread that we hadn't even thought about. Typically, like when you provide, you know, when you tick the box like yes or no, when companies ask you to send anonymous data, you don't typically like configure it. You don't pick like what data you send. But given that we're developers and, you know, we like configuring things, I think it makes a lot of sense in our context. So yeah, that's absolutely something that would feed back into the tool.
Very cool. Is this becoming more of an engineering project that you guys wished that it was, or did you guys think it was just going to be like something really quickly that you're going to implement?
Yeah, it's like, I think it was spec'd as like 3 or 4 hours of work or something. Like, but I wanted to get back to something that I thought of that you mentioned earlier. I actually think the other thing that's been interesting to me is that there hasn't been that like volume of comments on this thread. Like if you have a look at some of the threads that have happened on our forums in the past, there are like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of comments with all sorts of points of view. And when you know, when people got upset about the PR and went to create the thread, I was like, oh my God, this is going to be another one of those where literally, you know, every person weighs in with a different opinion. But it hasn't happened. Actually, there haven't been that, like, you know, more than sort of, what is it, about 50 comments now.
Yeah.
So that's actually another data point for me towards sort of this case where, you know, many people maybe just don't care that much.
Well, and it might be touching what Sashko said, which is there might be that 80% out there that just don't participate in it, and they're more like the enterprise people or international, and those will probably be the people that care more, but yet they don't participate in the public setting potentially. So that could be the case too.
So then if that's the case, then we should just do it and see if they get upset, and then we'll find out who they are.
Please don't do that. Oh man, it's a sticky situation, isn't it? Oh my gosh, privacy. It's like privacy, and it's weird. It's such a dance. But I like that you guys stepped back. You guys want to make sure to get it right. This is something that you guys really want this information. It's really valuable for the future of Meteor. But you're not going to push forward and just force it in. And I really appreciate that. Yeah. So it's good. It's good. It's an opportunity. It is an opportunity for much more. It's another opportunity to like do it right so that you got a passionate community behind you, rather than doing it wrong and maybe like throwing water on the fire or something like that. And like people are kind of like,
yeah.
So very cool. Very cool. Okay, guys. So this is transmission number 10. It's been amazing. Amazing guests, amazing conversations. So much stuff going on. I can't believe we're in double digits now and we still got so many topics to talk about. Isn't this wild?
Yeah, I mean, I can't wait for Meteor 1.3 coming soon.
That'll be big.
There's going to be so much stuff to talk about because I think a lot of people haven't, like, I know you have. I think a lot of people haven't quite realized how big of a deal it's going to be yet.
Going to be a very big deal.
It's a very big deal. And then even like on my side of things, like I'm a content creator. There are people out there that can take the opportunity of 1.3 being released and make new content. If you got a new blog that you really want to have take off, or you want to make a training product or something like that, like 1.3 is the time to get in, because it incorporates all the new JavaScript world imports. It's such a big release that almost makes previous content and training materials kind of obsolete, because it's not the recommended way to build a Meteor app anymore. There's a better way to do it. So even for the content creators, it's a huge opportunity that they should take advantage of. So
the thing that's really, really exciting for me is a lot of people who before were looking for external solutions that might be harder to set up, like people who are like, oh, how do I start using Webpack? Like now we're seeing threads on the forums that are like, you know, I was using Webpack, but now I try out this Meteor 1.3 thing and like, oh, it's actually just as good. Like, okay, that's cool now. Like people are like, yeah, like, oh, I built CSS modules for Meteor 1.3. I built this, I built that. Like everything's chill now.
Yeah, seriously. Huge move. And it's just going to get better from there. This is a huge milestone in the Meteor story.
Yep.
It was very good. And simultaneously, Galaxy is another huge milestone. And then on the side, we got Apollo happening, which is another huge milestone. Holy cow. Freaking.
It's like the sleeping giant. Yeah. Yeah. It's like the tip of the tip of the tip of the tip of the iceberg.
How many tips does an iceberg have?
It's like what you've seen so far. It's gonna blow your face off when it comes out. You're just gonna be like, well, how did I do anything before Apollo came out? How did I even live life? It's gonna be like that.
I'm just amazed. I am just amazed and excited for the future. I'm so stoked right now. I'm just realizing I got all 3 project managers in one show.
It's true. Technically, I'm the tech lead. I'm not the project manager. Matt is the project manager.
Oh.
Almost. Technically, product managers.
Oh, product. Everyone only says PM. I'm like, what do they mean? You know, which one is it?
Just to confuse you.
I don't even know the difference.
There's so many terms.
Oh my god.
I literally Googled that like a month ago. Good stuff. Okay, guys, it's awesome. Everything's awesome. You know what's really awesome is the Meteor Galaxy coupon promo code that we have, which is Dashko is awesome.
Love it.
Cool, man.
So guys, go ahead and put that in. If you guys haven't signed up for Galaxy yet, you guys get a $50 credit, and you guys help out Transmission by supporting us, letting us know that you listen. And we really appreciate that. We really appreciate MDG. I really do. Thank you so much. And until next time, build amazing things with Meteor 1.3.
All right.
Bye, guys.
All right, awesome. Thanks.